Welcome to the Johnson After Show on Bounce. I'm your host, Dani Canada, and we are unpacking tonight's episode with Greg and Jarvis, aka Deji LaRay and Derrex Brady. Now, if you're watching this and you have not seen the latest episode, make sure you download Brown Sugar to get caught up and then come back and chat with us because we're going to be spilling all the tea tonight. How y'all doing, boys?
Doing good.
Now,
You got me sitting next to this guy.
I was gonna say that y'all seem good, but on the show,
Yeah, on the show.
there is some beef brewing between these guys.
It's a slow burn.
It's a slow burn.
Yeah.
Deji, what is Greg's problem? Does he think his friend is a sellout? What is going on here?
I think, Greg is very opinionated.
Okay.
Okay. When he sees something he doesn't like, he says it, or that he's uncomfortable about, or, he's not afraid to speak his mind.
Okay.
And he's just sensing that, Jarvis hasn't really been the same. It's kind of funny because historically, Greg and Jarvis were the first two to meet as kids.
Yeah.
Right.
And, here comes Omar and here comes Keith. I mean, soon after, but I think Greg just feels like, they've had a connection first, long time ago. And here they are now, pretty much the two with the most disconnecting views at this stage in life, and it's irritating him.
Derrex, let's talk about Jarvis's side because he obviously has to be hurt. If this was his friend first and now they have this issue, is he just hurt to see that his friend is judging him in this way?
I mean, I think Jarvis is like, look, if you got something to say, then say it. But the subtexting and little messages, that's
Little
like
shade
kind of
here
like,
and there.
a little shade. It's like, come on, man, like what we doing? So Jarvis is just kind of like, what's the issue? I'm still me.
Yeah.
I'm still from around the way. I mean, I just got a different, progressing in life. Is that a problem?
Right.
I think that's Jarvis's, take on it.
So things heat up. We have a showdown of sorts at Slutty Vegan. It's supposed to be a good time. Everybody's hanging out, getting their little vegan burgers.
Trying to have a shake.
Trying to have a little shake, nothing crazy. But then you guys start to talk about voting, and it comes out that Jarvis voted Republican, for his pockets, economic reasons. Is that true? Does Greg really buy that?
I don't think it matters to Greg why. The reason why he voted the way he voted. He voted the way he voted. And Greg does not like that at all.
What are Water Boys?
They gave him that name because they jump in traffic until you give them a $20 bill for a water bottle.
Oh, okay. So would you rather than be out there robbing folks?
Okay. Is selling water bottles or robbing people the only two choices?
I didn't...
No. Is education not an option anymore?
This is why you don't try to reason with folks who voted for Trump. I think the kind of disconnect and the rift in their relationship has started before this episode. Obviously, in episode 1, you hear some little shade here and there.
The hashtag on her last pic says bad bitch.
Yeah, they're allowed to use it. That's their culture, okay? It's just like the N-word with white people.
Yeah, but they say it anyway.
Who, like your wife, Lisa?
Then we get to episode 5, and it's just apparent. They just happen to be here at the same time because they were both coming out to grab lunch. So, but voting is a big issue in our community. There's people who feel like that's a part of the system. Why buy into that? Your vote doesn't count. It doesn't matter. It's all a game anyway. And there's other people who feel like, you got to vote in order to affect change, And so we wanted to really just kind of touch on those two different perspectives. Obviously Greg representing, I'm gonna stay away from the system. My vote doesn't matter, and Jarvis representing the opposite.
Jarvis is also like, yo, how are you going to even judge me and you don't even vote?
Yeah.
Like, what conversation we having?
I personally understand both perspectives, but I know in this climate, in today's age, if our votes didn't matter, then they wouldn't be trying so hard to stop the vote.
Absolutely.
I think that's how Jarvis feels, but Greg feels opposite. Yeah.
So, Derrex, let's talk about not talking about politics with your friends. Is there a medium, a happy medium in there where you can discuss it behind the scenes? Is this something in black male friendships where it's like, okay, we might disagree on this, but we could still be cool?
I think like if you're aligned,
Yeah.
then you can have those conversations. And you, even in alignment, you could still have some disagreements about certain subjects. But I think that when you're totally from different parties, it's tough to do.
Absolutely.
But I think what this show does in this particular scene is it just paints the broader picture by talking about, you know, the black individuals who are Republican,
Yep.
and giving them some humanity as well.
Right.
You know, there's this dress that was going around a few years back. It was like a white dress, or was it white or
The
blue?
colors,
What color do
yeah.
you see, right?
Yeah.
And so I saw a white dress, and then everybody around me saw a blue dress, and like we argued it for days.
Yes.
You know, and I think that's just how it is. People vote the way that they are brought up by their experiences.
Yeah.
And, you know, some of these conversations are a lost cause, but I think as long as you respect each other,
Yep.
you know, as humans, then, you know, you can get past it.
So in addition to this beef with Greg and Jarvis that is brewing,
Mm-hmm.
we see Greg white lying once again now. So he has his white lies piling up. He wasn't honest about Ari being in his Uber, and now he has to keep that lie going. Is it okay to tell a white lie to protect someone that you love?
Have you ever told a white lie before?
No, of
No?
course not. Please.
You know that's the perfect response, right? What do you You're going to answer a question with a question.
Right, exactly.
But I'm sure you have.
Absolutely, of
Right?
course.
I'm sure all of us have.
Yeah.
And I think it's really hard to judge if we've done it
Mm-hmm.
before at some point in life. I think Greg's thing is he's just trying to avoid conflict at this stage.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He knows that regardless, Serena's not going to potentially believe him that this just so happened. And then also too, if he tells this, the truth about him giving Ari a ride, then it's going to lead to more questions and more conversations that he's not necessarily ready for.
Right.
You know, I think he's really just trying to digest it himself, you know, to figure out how he's going to handle the situation. If the reason why he picked her up, because he could have easily canceled the ride.
For sure.
You know, but he took the ride, I think, because there was something in him that just wanted to see her one last time.
Right.
You
right.
know, so he's definitely not going to open up to Serena about that at this stage.
So he's trying to avoid conflict at home, and
Mm-hmm.
he's also kind of trying to avoid conflict with Jarvis, but it's escalating, right? So at one point, do black males in friendships have to address their issues because things can bubble over and get crazy?
We have to continue to work on that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think, you know, one thing that we've kind of been groomed to do as black men is to like keep our feelings inside.
For sure.
You know, and not communicate the way that women communicate to each other and, you know, to the world or whatever. And so I think that's just kind of a habit that we've historically had, and I think is a habit that we're breaking.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, in life. You know, I'm seeing, you know, more black men be expressive, more black men have opinions on certain things, and be vulnerable.
Yeah.
You know, so that's very important.
I think that's something that's good that the show is showing an example of, is that we're breaking the cycle where we are, you know, trying to figure out how to communicate earlier than later. But that is the normal thing that we do. We kind of just go, all right, I'm gonna let that go. You can have that. I'm all right, okay. But that builds up, and then you see what happens. So
Exactly. Now, during the Slutty Vegan Showdown, we saw that my girl Serena had Greg's back. She took those earrings off. She was ready to go.
Oh, relax, big man. They ain't gonna run out of burgers. You good?
Oh, okay, that's good. Because your mama waiting for me to bring her to-go plate.
Now I'm
Why is she go so hard for her man?
Well, I think that I think Serena represents a lot of black women, and I think that's definitely a trait that a lot of black women possess, is just really riding for, you know what I'm saying, for black men. You know, it's so true. It doesn't matter whether it's, you know, whether it's in the streets or whether it's not in the streets, like they're gonna ride, you know. And I think Serena does that. You know, you can see not only is she riding for me outside, you know, when she took the earrings off, but also I think in the conversation in Slutty Vegan. Even though I don't vote, but she does, you know, she didn't make me feel bad about it, and she took up for me. You know, I think that's important. You know, in a relationship, is like, okay, I'm gonna ride for you right now. If I disagree with you or I got an issue with what you said or what you did, we're gonna talk about it in the car afterwards. You know what I'm saying? But right now we riding together.
Now, Derrex, I was pleasantly surprised to see Lisa do the same thing in her own way and go hard for Jarvis.
I mean, hey, listen, Lisa was in the pocket with Jarvis.
Was.
Yeah, she was like trying to explain. You know, I even had to like, hey, babe, but she was riding for him, and I think that she thinks that his views are important. And sometimes I think Jarvis kind of, like I said, Jarvis kind of thing is like, I'm not gonna make it all this right now. And I think she was like, no, you need to have your voice, and I got you. Yeah. So I think that was a moment. Yeah.
All right, so we're looking forward to seeing what goes down with Greg and Jarvis. Hopefully things don't get too spicy. Thank you guys so much, Deji LaRay and Derrex Brady. For more Johnson, make sure you stay tuned to Bounce TV.
Hey, stay tuned.
Listen, you can tune in and watch all new episodes of Johnson on cable, satellite, or over the air. Find Bounce in your area by going to the URL right below.
Shine.